necessary after this briefing?
So what the briefing taught us is that the targeting system that our military and intelligence community has built for the last 24 years is exquisite at finding, finishing, and fixing bad guys. If we're going to call into question the paradigm with which we are targeting these boats, which I'll add is a very precise paradigm, throughout the Obama years, we used this targeting system to find and kill a lot of bad guys all over the world. And if the political bodies of this nation want to take an opinion on designated terrorist organizations or whether the president has the authority to do this, that's fine. But to go after Admiral Bradley, to go after the brave men and women in uniform who are conducting these attacks is to indict the very system that was used bipartisanly for the last 24 years. I personally was involved in many of these operations, from kinetic strikes to direct action operations. And the process we have is legally sound. It's been supported by legal opinions for a quarter century now of how we find these people, we fix them, and we finish them. And keep in mind, if we don't drop a bomb and we decide to interdict, as is being said by many folks, we have an obligation to send a team to interdict. When we make that decision, you're putting our lives at risk. You're putting Americans' lives at risk. Just about a year and a half ago, you remember 2 SEALs were killed interdicting a vessel at night in the Red Sea. Interdicting a vessel underway is perhaps the most dangerous mission we have in our entire military inventory. When we task our commandos to go out and attack a vessel underway, that's an incredibly high-risk mission. So when folks say, well, we should be interdicting, that's easy for you to say here in this building between 2 cups of cappuccinos. It's a lot harder to send that 24-year-old operator out there who's got a wife and kids and tell him in the middle of the night you got to fast up out of a helicopter, scuba dive under a ship, climb up the side of that, and fight your way onto a vessel, because we're more worried about the lives of drug dealers than we are our own people. And that's a high-risk mission. That's.
They've been doing that.
Oh, you're a professional at this? So she knows how the Coast Guard interdicts vessels. This is great. The reality is interdicting a vessel is high risk, any which way you cut it, whether you send the Coast Guard and FBI, or whether you send the Navy SEALs to do it. It's a high-risk mission. And I'll add, when we find, fish, and finish terrorist targets, this is a designated terrorist organization. The deadliest day in the history of the SEALs was in Wardak Promise 2011. We sent in SEALs in a helicopter because the kinetic strike intelligence said, we're going to send a team in instead. Instead of bombing the building and killing the terrorists, we're going to send a team in. And by sending a team in, that helicopter was shot down on short final, deadliest day in the history of special operations, because our team made the decision, the right decision at the time, that we were going to send a team in and conduct a capture-kill instead of a kinetic strike. So making the decision to not strike and instead send Americans in, that's a decision the commander can make. That's within his authority to do so. But we have to recognize that carries risks too. And we've been doing this for 25 years, and if we're going to question the legal process and the procedural process to target bad guys that this administration is using, then all of you better start cracking open every single Obama kinetic strike that happened over 8 years of Obama, because he was active. I deployed under all 5 of my deployments were under Barack Obama. Then you're going to have to crack open every single bomb that Obama dropped, because it was the exact same process. In many cases, the same people. So it's about time we forget the political games. Americans do not want drugs coming to the country. We absolutely talked about Venezuela, because Venezuela is not just a drug cartel government. It's a transnational sponsor of crime. It's a transnational cooperator with Iran, with Russia, with China, and uses its ability to flood our nation with drugs to weaken our country and harm our people. So this is a legal process. The legal process supports what they're doing, and we're going to keep doing it until they're gone.
Is the goal regime change? Did they tell you that?
Make it back. Watch out.
Okay, good morning. Look, I reiterated my demand of Secretary Hegseth in front of all 100 senators that he allow every senator to see the unedited version, the unedited video of what happened on September 2nd. He refused. The administration came to this briefing empty-handed. That's the major question that we face. And if they can't be transparent on this, how can you trust their transparency on all the other issues swirling about in the Caribbean? Every senator is entitled to see it. If there is no problem with sources and methods, because the senators will see it in the skiff. I also believe that every American should see an appropriate version of this, of the unedited, well, they should see an appropriate version of what happened on September the 2nd. I saw it. It was deeply troubling. in my Gang of Eight meeting last week, I asked Secretary Hegseth, let every senator see it. He said he'd think about it. Today, he came up with no answer and no tape.
So he officially said
His reasoning was that it might give things away that shouldn't be. I respect classification. When you do it in the skiff, that argument is undercut. It's just with senators in the skiff.
Can you help us understand if they gave any rationale of what the end goal of these strikes actually is? I imagine
Look,
the question you
that's
asked.
the set, and I sat through this briefing once before last week. We do not, their policies in the Caribbean are unclear. We don't know what the limits are. We don't know where they'll stop. We don't know what the ultimate goal is. The president says different things at different times and contradicts himself. That's why we need full transparency, at least to the 100 senators, and much more transparency to the American people. We don't want another endless war. We don't want to stumble into something, and given Trump's erratic back and forth on this issue, I worry about that. So do many Americans.
Did Ukraine come up at all, Senator?